All right, good afternoon, everybody. We'll just give folks a couple more minutes to log in, and then we'll get started. Les, do we have anybody else in the waiting room?
No, nobody else is in the waiting room. I don't know if Mike Tulang is gonna join us.
Okay, hopefully Mary does. Steph said she's going to be about 15 minutes late.
Okay.
Does anybody know if Tessie's joining today?
I don't know.
No, okay. All right, well, I don't want to delay too long because I know people have to leave at certain times. We actually do have quorum, so hopefully, Mary will join and Tessie and Mike will join. So I'll go ahead and get started. It's 1:32 p.m. Welcome to the Tuesday, April 6th meeting of the Environmental Council. Thank you everybody for being here. I'll go ahead and just do a quick roll call of those present. I think it's easier that way. My name's Onana Thone. I'm chair of the council. Here today we have Ron Terry, Robin K, Keith Kawaoka, Roy Abe, Makaala Kaumoana, Mahina Tudor, and Don Hager Nordblom for members of the council. We also have Les Segundo from OEQC, RAG Kathy Ho, and then from DHHL we have Nancy McPherson and Malia Cox. All right, did I miss anybody? All right, I think we're okay, good to go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we do have 8. Okay, great. So I'm gonna just let everybody know I do need to switch up the items on the agenda a little bit. Okay, great. I'll note for the record that we do have Mary Berger and Tessie Kinnaman who just joined the meeting. So, all right, glad we got everybody on. Thank you. So I was gonna say I need to juggle the agenda a little today because due to people maybe having to leave early. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna start off with the exemption committee update. We do have some members of the public here from DHHL who are on that. And then we're gonna go into item number 9, which is our executive session. And then exemption committee first, then item number 3, OEQC director report. And then we'll go into item number 9. And then from there, we'll basically follow the rest of the agenda. So I'll turn it over to you, Ron.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Good. Okay, thank you, Chair. Today, the exemption committee held a meeting. We had one action item on the agenda, and we're bringing that to you today. That is the recommendation to concur with the exemption list of the Department of Hawaiian Homelands. This went out for comment in March for 15 days, March 8th. Since then, there have been no comments, and our committee had no comments. We thought the list was well done. We voted unanimously to recommend for concurrence, and that serves as a motion to the council as a whole. I think in keeping with our usual practice, we'd like a second for that motion.
Second.
Robin seconds it. Okay. So this is sort of, should I just handle this, Onana, or? Okay, we'll just keep going, even though this is a council agenda item. We have representatives from DHHL here today, Malia Cox, and I don't see Nancy, but is she on there? There she is. Sorry, yeah, big screen. So would you folks like to say anything?
I'd just like to thank you, the council again. This is Malia Cox, for taking the time to do the review, and we appreciate you taking this up today.
Okay, thank you.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to thank you also for getting it, and for OEQC for getting it onto the environmental notice so quickly, so that we didn't think we'd be here this quickly. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's because of Les and Tom at OEQC really doing a great job. And so Les, Carrie, have our congratulations for you guys. I know you're short-staffed, it's difficult to do all this, and you guys have really been doing well and helping make things. Is there any discussion among the council members about this list? Are you all sure it exists? I'm testing you. Okay.
I'll just go ahead and say, we talked about this in the exemption committee today, but we really do appreciate the time that DHHL took to really painstakingly go through this list. There are a lot of items, and it was certainly, educational for us to see everything that DHHL does. So thanks again for doing this.
Yeah, that's a wonderful perk of being on the exemptions committee, maybe the only one, is that we get to inside view of what government does and how they do it. So it's kind of good. Well, I'm not seeing any further discussion here. It's okay if I do the question here? Okay, all in favor? Raise your hand. Okay, opposed? None? Abstentions? We got a conflict? No? Good. Well, folks, it passes, and we have another one. It's great, starting to roll in here. We're getting a lot of agencies doing this. Malia, Nancy, thank you so much for attending both meetings, and more importantly, for the good work you do and the protection to the environment that you bring as you do your work. I know it's not easy in a mission agency such as yours to juggle so many balls. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Environmental Council.
All right. Well, we did have a discussion in the Environmental Council about one other potential future item, and I don't know, because it's not agendized, whether I can discuss it here. I'll look for guidance from the chair.
Yeah, Ron, I would say maybe we can agendize it for next time, especially since we do have a couple of, items that may take a little bit more time that I want to make sure we get through. If there's, perhaps if there's time at the end of the meeting, we can bring it up, but yeah.
Okay, because I do want to spend, when we do discuss it, I want to spend some time.
Okay.
So that sounds good.
So let's
okay.
really agendize it for the May meeting. If you can please remind me, what
Okay.
that is.
That sounds good. That's it from the exemptions committee, unless there's any questions. Thanks.
All right, thanks so much, Ron. So Keith, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you for the OEQC director's report.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everybody. I'll make it quick because I'll defer some of that to the legislative committee, Robin, to elaborate. But first, I just want to go through HB 1318. And first, I want to acknowledge our council chair, who did a fantastic job of testifying at the last hearing. And also to our deputy AG, who did background behind the scenes work to make sure from a legal standpoint, the transition from Department of Health to Office of Planning will continue. I'm told this has been a record referring to 5 Senate committees at the same time. And it was a bit chaotic, but I think we got through it. They passed it with amendments, and it's probably going to go to conference committee. But I think all the elements that we had talked about earlier, and Robin can kind of elaborate further, but in a sense, I think the Senate wanted to put their stamp on the bill, the House draft bill. So I think that was done that in fairly record time. I've never been through a bill that required this many referrals, and that's very unusual. Usually you see a double, sometimes a triple referral, but 5. So keep your fingers crossed. It's not over yet. It's still winding its way through. And that's true for the rest of the legislative session. I mean, right now, the budget-wise, I think both the Senate and the House, as I mentioned, I think before, they're still looking at doing vacancy savings, looking at special funds. The big question mark is what contribution the federal budget, the ARP, not AARP, but the ARP, to contribute to some of the shortfalls that we have currently in the state. So we haven't had any specific direction yet on those kinds of aspects from the feds. I think the only thing the governor mentioned was that he's looking at avoiding layoffs and pay cuts, but everything else is still up in the air. And that's the best I can say at this point. So with that, I'm open to any questions, and else I'll turn it back to the chair.
Thanks so much, Keith. I don't have any questions, but does anybody else have questions for Keith? And I would ask this group if we can maybe defer specific questions on HB 1318 until the legislative committee update, just so that we can get to our next agenda item, which I would like to have everybody for. But if there are other questions for Keith, now's the time. Okay, I don't think there's any questions. So Keith, thanks very much for your update and for everything that you, Department of Health and OEQC has done, with HB 1318 as well. It was a mad dash, especially over the weekend and last week to get that kind of in the form that it's in now. So thank you. Okay, so with that, I'm going to move on to our next agenda item. And Kathy, let me know if I'm doing this correctly, but I do want to make a motion to go into executive session pursuant to HRS 92-5A4 to discuss the council's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities related to the remand of the Copico v. Environmental Council case. And I have Robin with the second. Okay, all those in favor of going
Wait, that wasn't a motion.
Oh, wasn't? Oh,
No.
sorry.
Sorry.
Okay.
Because I was recused from this conversation, should I be recused from this executive session?
Go ahead, Kathy.
Yeah, we're just going to be talking about procedural aspects, not the merits of the case. So I think you're okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So sorry, do I have a second on my motion? Okay, thank you, Mary.
30 seconds.
Okay, I'll say Mary has a second, and all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, so I think we're unanimous on that. So Les, if you can, well, I guess we don't have members of the public on now. So do we actually need to move into a separate breakout room? Or Les, can you just please monitor to make sure that
I'm going to have to send you to a breakout room because people may join, yeah? So.
Okay, yeah. Can they join on their own, or do you have to monitor the waiting
Well,
room?
They can join, but I'm going to have to kick them out if you're,
Okay,
so
okay.
I'm just going to transfer everybody to the breakout room because it's not
Perfect.
going to be recorded, yeah?
Thank you, Les. Appreciate
Okay.
it.
Okay, here we go.
So make sure you folks click join. You have to actually click join. Thanks.
You all have to unmute.
Mhm. Hey, Les, we're still missing some people. Are there still some people in the breakout room?
I'm not sure, but when I think they have to hit, let me see.
Yeah.
Is there a way to send a message to them? Can we do that in chat, or will they get it in the
Yeah.
breakout room?
Yeah,
Les, you can close the breakout room and it'll force them back into the main meeting.
yeah, okay, that's what I'm doing.
Thank you. I think some people are waiting for you to do it.
I have a friend that does a really short 20-minute Zoom class that is excellent. Maybe we should put that on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay, they're coming in now.
Thank you. Okay, 3.
I don't see Keith.
Let's see Keith or Mahina.
Yeah, they're still in there, but
Tina knows how to do Zoom.
yeah, the
That's
room
right.
is gonna close in 30 seconds. Oh, Mahina's here.
Talking about Mahina's possible recusal. But that, she wouldn't talk to him about it. She talked to Kathy about it. I'm thinking out loud, ignore me.
Okay, we're just waiting for Keith now.
Yeah, he should be coming in shortly.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, everybody. I know we got to go pretty quickly. So it's 2:34 p.m. We're back in open session, just back from executive session. Do we have a motion?
This is Mary. I move that we hire that we arrange that this matter be dealt with by a hearings officer.
Thank you, Mary. Do I have a second? All right, thanks, Stephanie. Okay, so given the sensitivities with this matter, I think what I'll propose for discussion is that anybody who needs to disclose and recuse, please go ahead and do that now.
I recuse.
Yeah, okay.
Who is it?
I have to recuse.
Yeah. Kathy, do we need them to discuss briefly their reasons for recusal?
They should at least, for the record, state their reason.
Okay, so
I have a conflict of interest as I was one of the parties to the legal action against the industry.
thank you.
I have
Robin,
I have a conflict because I'm currently and was previously a board member of one of the parties.
thanks, Robin. Keith, I think you said you may have something.
No, I just request recusal for the meeting. I accept the hearings officer for a vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, Keith, what was the?
I need to leave the rest of the remainder of this meeting. But,
Oh, okay.
Do we need him to vote though?
Yeah, I think we do need to vote.
Yeah, I'll vote for the hearings officer.
Okay, sorry. Okay,
Okay, and I'm gonna recuse myself too because Earth Justice has said I can't hear this fairly.
okay. Thanks,
Thank you,
Ron.
Chair.
I would
Okay.
like to recuse myself because I will not have the time to give this case the level of attention and time that it's going to take.
Okay, so I don't know if you can recuse just because you
No,
don't.
I don't think you get to
It's
do
a
that,
conflict
Steph.
of interest. And Keith just left, but he gave us his proxy, right? That we have that
Yeah.
on the record.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's typically conflicts of interest. I don't think we can. Sorry, Steph, I'm gonna reject your recusal also because, we need votes for either way. But, well, okay. I'm not
Okay,
gonna-
but I want this on the
Yeah.
record that if this
Yeah.
comes back into our plate, I
Mhm.
am not going to have the time to hear
Mhm.
this case again.
Okay, understood. Go ahead, Roy.
Okay, just to clarify, my understanding is if we hire a hearings officer, he's gonna conduct all the meetings, hear all the witnesses, come to a decision. We may or may not attend some of these meetings to hear the witnesses, but At the end,
No, if it's a hearing officer, you cannot attend any of the
we
meetings.
cannot hear. Okay, even better. So we don't have to hear all the witnesses.
Mhm.
And all we do at the end is just decide whether we agree or disagree with his
Yeah.
decision. So I would think it's minimal time.
Mhm.
Is that, am I correct? Or,
You need to review the record
yeah,
that's
true,
provided to you.
right.
Yeah, so whatever gets filed in this contested case, right? So we are familiar with the record that was filed in the
Right.
first appeal. That could potentially be the same record again. Again, this remand is limited to two of our findings of fact.
Two issues, just two
Yeah.
issues.
Two issues, very narrow. But at minimum, what we will need to review, if we get a hearing officer, what we will need to review is anything that's filed during the contested case. So that could be witness statements, briefs, the transcripts of the
Transcript, yeah.
proceeding.
Okay,
So it would likely still be less time, but it will require some time of us.
okay,
The hope, depending on how much is filed, how many parties and witnesses there are, the hope is, of course, that we could, once everything comes back to us, everybody reviews on their own time, we will at minimum need one meeting to discuss it.
okay.
But I don't want to foreclose to say that we'll get it all done in one meeting. It really depends on what the recommendation is and what evidence presented. So there is still some time that'll come to us. We're not 100% out of it, right? Mhm.
So I think-
Sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
the amount of time will be probably depend on how many witnesses, how many transcripts and so on, and how detailed we want to get into it.
That's correct. Mhm.
Okay,
Okay, so sorry, Steph, I didn't mean to be like, I reject your recusal, but yeah, I think that just wasn't the correct standard for recusal. Tessie, go ahead.
In the end, all we need to do also is just review the hearings officer's recommendations and then decide, right?
The recommendation
the
as
end,
well,
yeah.
as well as the evidence. Yeah, so and we have the ability, we're not bound to the hearing officer's recommendation. We could adopt it or we could do something
Reject.
different. So, whatever the case, whatever our decision is, then, probably be me and Kathy again, working on findings and whatnot. So hopefully the hearing officer preps some that we can at least work off of, and, it'll just, the final product will be depending on what the council decides. Mhm. But yeah, the point is well taken from folks on expressing. I know there's difficulties and challenges with timing. And then maybe we can, Steph, we can talk with you kind of offline on that. But for purposes of just now, yeah, the vote is just whether, the motion we have is to whether or not to send this to a hearing officer. Any
We have
further?
a motion and we have a second, right?
We do. We have a motion from Mary and Steph seconded.
Okay.
We have a proxy vote from Keith too.
Yes, correct. Is there any further discussion? Okay, then I'll go ahead and call the question. Oh, sorry, Mahina, go ahead.
Oh, no. Did you want me to disclose my potential conflict here? Or just when we get to that point
Kathy.
later on?
Well, let's see, we have recusals.
We won't be at 8 if we lose Mahina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we have a vote on the floor. So let's deal with the vote on the floor.
Okay. All right, so we do have the motion. Thank you, everybody, for discussion. Motion is to delegate a hearing of the remand to a hearing officer. So all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then with Keith, we have 8. Any opposed? All right. And no abstentions, but we do have 3 recusals. Okay, so thank you folks so much. So I'll work with Kathy on coordinating this going to the hearings officer. And I know this was a lot of discussion. Thank you, Kathy, for the research that you did, and everybody for your discussion. I think we still have some issues we need to figure out before this comes back to us. So we'll work. I'll talk with Mahina and with Stephanie, and yeah, we'll We'll work on it, guys. I know this is a lot of work. Thank you. Okay, so we still have a lot on our agenda. So next up, I'll turn it over to Robin for Legislative Committee.
Hi. Okay. I'll try and make this briefer than I was going to. So hang on one second. Let me pull it up. Some of you know some of this. The bill that we've been following is HB House Bill 1318. And it came out of a conversation that Onana and I were authorized by you to have with Representative Lowen and Chair Senator Gabbard. And at that meeting, they both agreed to the three things that Onana and I recommended, again, reflecting the council. And those three things, which are critical to this whole process, were to eliminate the appeals coming to us, to eliminate the responsibility for the annual report, and to delete any reference to the environmental center. They both agreed, they were both very supportive, but they came about it in very different ways. Senator Gabbard came at it with a very specific bill that listed those three items that asked for those three items to happen. Rep. Lowen added a significant addition to that, which was to move us to the Office of Planning, along with some other groups. But to be brief, for us to go to the office, become part of the Office of Planning. And that was to put us into what had been established last year, the Sustainability Office within the Office of Planning, which had never been funded and never been staffed. So Rep. Lowen's bill, which was more complicated than Senator Gabbard's, moved through the House, took some changes, and then went over to the Senate. The Senate had determined to not hear Gabbard's bill and instead to just hear 1318. But as Keith spoke, when it was sent to the Senate, it got very complicated because since it required a change of departments, it went to the Government Operations Committee, which was chaired by Senator Morawaki. And she had some significant reservations, specifically, that there was no study done about the implications of transferring to another department, which she felt should have been done. And B, she was hesitant to take the appeals process out of the administrative structure. And I was afraid that it would take too long if it went to court rather than to an administrative review. And C, she thought the annual report was important, even though she admitted she hadn't read it and didn't think many others did. But Onana and I worked with Senator Gabbard and Senator Morawaki. And just to cut to the chase, there was a lot of elimination and a lot of back and forth, and it ended up in a hearing that took place yesterday. And our fearless chair stood up to some salvos from some senators that indicated to us we need to do a better job of educating some of our legislators on what is the role of the Environmental Council. Because it was an assumption that we were a decision-making body and that we were out of balance in our membership, that our membership, according to this one person, was more heavily industry-based than environmentally based. And this senator thought that was out of whack. Long story short, again, I apologize, but the bill passed as the amended version of HB 1318. So as far as we know, and I have not seen, the Senate's bill has not been posted, but Mike Gabbard, Senator Gabbard, just prior to the vote, went over all of the amendments, which I have, and I'd be glad to share with you later if you'd like. Maybe Les can send it out, but basically what the bill said, and this is as far as we know, we will be called the Environmental Advisory Council. We will be part of the Office of Planning. Our annual report will go to the Office of Planning to be included in their annual report. So we don't have to put it out to the legislature or anybody else. We don't have to pay for it ourselves. The appeals process will go to court. It will not go to us and it will not go to the Office of Planning. It will go directly to court. So other senators were at that meeting because, as Keith said, there were 5 committees involved, and Senator Gabbard joked that it was almost the full Senate in hearing. But it was approved with only 2 with reservations. There were no objections. And Senator Riviere added some very good, thoughtful amendments to it that protected us within the context of, and the word that was used was deference, that the Office of Planning needs to provide deference to us, and that the rules we spent 3 years, 2.5 years developing would stay integral to the process that we designed them for. So that's pretty much what I know in as brief a way as I can. Onana, is that pretty good? Is that get to most of what we need to say?
Yeah, those are the main points. Thank you, Robin. It's,
Onana, I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that Onana handled the questions in a really good way, because she pointed out that we are not a decision-making body. She gave some examples of the absolute opposite of conflicts of us being an industry-heavy board, and in fact, talking about the recusals from this appeals process. So it was, I think, a very positive outcome. We essentially got everything we'd asked for in the very beginning of December.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was good. I mean, the bottom line is we still have an annual report, but it's going to be through OP. So essentially work with OP. We haven't talked about the formatting of this. If and when we go over, it could be a verbal annual report that OP incorporates into theirs. So hopefully that alleviates some of the pressure, and especially because we have a 0 budget. And then on the appeals issue, it was interesting because some legislators, as Robin mentioned, wanted to keep it in. And so we got some pretty detailed questions on, why do we think that should come out? What would the process be? Including, well, if you keep an administrative process for applicants, don't you need to have one for, other folks challenging it? So kind of seeing the converse and seeing that there could be even more administrative appeals, I think was helpful. For the committees to understand, in going with our recommendation to just, delete the administrative appeals requirement altogether. But bottom line, unfortunately, it doesn't help us with the current appeal before us. This hasn't, it's in conference committee now, but it hasn't yet passed. So I just did want to make that point. I know people may have hope, don't have that hope, unfortunately.
A couple of other, I'm sorry, a couple of other highlights. There was an attempt made to change the number from the statute says up to 15, and the AG for OP suggested that it go down to 9. We argued strenuously against that, and Senator Moriwaki heard us, and so I think it went back to up to 15. So that didn't change. One takeaway: I think we have some real strong friends and supporters in the ledge. There were people who listened to us. We had no specific connection, no personal connection to some of the senators, but they were very supportive. They knew what we'd done with the rules. And they essentially, when you look at the end product, if it stays, it's basically what we asked for. So I think we walked away in a good sense. One thing Kathy pointed out this morning, I'm sorry, Keith is gone. The bill carries over the staff from OEQC to OP, so nobody loses their job. But we're not clear on this, but it looks like OEQC itself as a body will disappear. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, then the functions of OEQC transfer over to OP and the staff, and I assume the budget, but not the actual office. So that's still foggy in my mind, but that should be clarified once we see the bill. Yes, Onana, is that reasonable?
I think that's my understanding as well. And I kind of talked to Kathy offline about that. And I think it makes sense the way that it was done. But we'll have to see what Senate Draft 1 looks like. It's still not posted, I don't believe. So they're working on it. But yeah, and thank you, Robin, for being available this weekend and, jamming on this last week and this weekend so that we could get it done. We were told they're thinking of a hearing, Wednesday of this week, and of course it was Monday instead. So we had to kind of mobilize quickly. But does anybody have any questions about that? I know a lot of you probably already heard the spiel either through Rules Committee or Ledge Committee. No? Okay. Oh, go ahead, Mary.
I just want to commend you on the way you handled the Senate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, it was, I think I might have told Robin, I was like, I'm actually glad I didn't know I was going to get that level of questioning. I would have had a even higher level of anxiety than I already do. But thankfully it was a subject I am passionate about and knowledgeable about, and I was able to, answer their questions. And yeah, it was very interesting. And it's the same stuff, going back to how Scott presented the council and what we do and what we do and what OEQC does do and does not do. So yeah, I think, we'll reach out to the folks who had some of those questions and try to just, build a bridge and let them know, hey, please approach us. We want to educate you on what we do, and you're concerned. You don't need to be concerned on those particular issues, right? So that's something that we can do through Ledge Committee. Go ahead, Makala.
I thanked you earlier. I'll do it again in full council. I know what that's like, on your feet, unexpected, but really prepared. Thank you. Thank you. You were the right person at the right time for the right reason. And I'm also realizing that after listening to Robin, if the legislators were listening to you and understanding, I am thinking that some of that is based in information they had received earlier. With outreach from you and others who were working with legislators, specifically Scott too, who we know met with individuals, a lot. And I thank him for that outreach, because I think that's one of the reasons they even knew what the EC was.
Yeah, I think it was really good. Robin's really good about, reaching out and explaining and we're tag teaming. We've kept a good, open line with Mary Alice Evans as well from OP. So OP's been very supportive in this. And, I think it'll be hopefully a smooth transition. There'll be a learning curve, but, if at the end of the day, we had talked about this a couple of sessions ago, there was that Department of the Environment bill, if it makes sense, I think conceptually to everybody, it makes sense to make this move. We'll see how it plays out in reality. So, we just got to try it, right? There's hopefully no harm in trying. But thank you all for, keeping up on this, and everybody contributed to our discussions, which eventually made it into our testimony and, our responses to questions from legislators. So all of our discussions here are so valuable, and I appreciate each and every one of you and all the hard work that everybody's doing. So we'll continue to keep you folks apprised of what happens with this. I don't know the legislative process well enough to know if we need to submit further testimony. No, okay, thank you, Kathy, that's good. So yeah, we just got to be on standby on that. Robin, anything else from Ledge Committee?
No, except that with that spreadsheet I had developed in the beginning of Ledge, this is the only bill that we were watching specifically that has life. The rest of them were all just not heard or died. There's a couple of others, that some that Kathy had recommended we follow, but in terms of the Environmental Council, nothing else has moved, just this one.
Thanks, Robin. Go ahead, Makala.
There might be, when it goes to conference and the conferees are appointed, there could be, we shouldn't be the one to, make the entree, but there might be questions from one or two of the members that they might want to submit directly to us, and you or Robin should be the contact for that. So there's an opportunity from the individual conferees for discourse. It's not common, but it happens, and we should be ready to stand again for that. It probably would be, I mean, you they handled it so thoroughly. I can't imagine what's left to discuss, but you never know.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll definitely keep an eye on it. And we did speak with, one of the research attorneys after the hearing, and giving a little bit more meat to, this is why we're asking for what we're asking. So we're hoping that makes it into the conference reports, just as kind of rounding it out for what the intent is. But yeah, we'll continue, point taken, we'll continue to monitor that and make ourselves available to respond to any questions.
The members of the conference committee, does it normally include the people who introduced the legislation as well as others? I mean, is it safe to assume that Rep. Lowen will be part of the conference committee and Mike Gabbard from the Senate? Or is that totally up to the leadership to appoint somebody out of the blue?
Totally up to the leadership. That often happens, but there's no guarantee.
Okay, good to know. Shoot, Kathy just flipped off, but does anybody know about the electronic meetings bill? How's that moving, if it's moving? Oh, mute, you're on mute.
I haven't been following it. Do you know the bill number?
You know, I can't remember.
I heard it's in trouble,
Oh, yeah? Oh, shoot, okay.
but I haven't, I can look at it right now quickly.
Yeah, if you don't mind, Mary, and then I'll just move on. Oh, huh?
I kind of was following it and then.
Yeah. Okay, well, maybe we can take a look at that later. I was just curious because I think we're all operating under the assumption that Zoom meetings are okay for the foreseeable future. So I hope
Remind me
that.
the bill number again.
Shoot. Robin, do you know?
Yeah, I can. Give me a minute.
Okay. But
Just
in
think of the money it saves.
yeah, it's the money issue.
Just think of the money it saves.
Well, I think part of the problem is that a lot of people, well, I read a Civil Beat article on this, and this is where I'm taking this from, but what allows us to do these electronic meetings is also the same thing that, you know, the governor's emergency proclamation that suspended the open records. And so I think people are generally against suspension of open government. And so that's where there's some bad vibes about it essentially. But, you know, at least we know we've gotten more public participation. I feel like with Zoom, it's just easier. So obviously we're for it, but
It says Senate Bill 1034.
That's it.
must be 10. Okay.
You're talking about the Sunshine Law and boards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1034.
Okay. Thank you. I'll take a look at that.
Okay, well, as of last, well, I heard this as of last Wednesday, it's passed out of committee with amendments, and but I heard yesterday, today is Tuesday, yeah, it was Monday, they said that it was in trouble.
Okay, that's curious. And it's this week is right. I think
That was the lobbyists that told me that, so.
yeah, I mean, but the deadline, what's the deadline to be heard?
Well, second decking, if you've got more than one referral, is April 9th, and then second cross is April 15th, which will start conference period.
Okay.
It'll run from the 15th through 22nd for non-fiscal bills, which these technically are, even though they might involve money in our minds. They're considered non-fiscal.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we'll just, start keeping an eye on that one as well, because that'll affect how we operate. But thank you for anything else for legislature, Robin? Okay.
Nope.
Thank you so much. All right, Mahina, you're up. Rules Committee.
I keep forgetting that we just haven't even finished the agenda.
Sorry, we're almost there. We're almost there, folks. Thanks for hanging in there.
Okay, I'll be quick. So let's see, we started off our meeting. Onana gave a super thorough kind of debrief on the bill and what's going on and where we're at. So given that we discussed, what we still need to do, if everything's moving over to Office of Planning. So where we ended up is that we basically kind of need to hooey up with Office of Planning, give them a sense of what we've been thinking and what we've been working on, see where they're at, how much they want to work on it, how much we should give them, basically just figuring all of that out before we can really move forward. So we decided we still need to, of course, amend the rules to repeal the appeals process, depending on how OP wants to do it. So as of now, our kind of to-do list is to figure that out. And then for our next meeting, we are going to everyone look at a version of the rules, 201, assuming that the appeals go to the Office of Planning. So we're all going to kind of take a look, see if we can get it conceptually right, and then start to do track changes for what we think needs to be changed in that transfer. Yeah, and that was kind of it for us. Did I miss anything?
I think that's right. Thanks, Mahina. Anybody have questions on that? Yeah, we're just taking a cautious approach, you know, in the event that HB 1318 doesn't, you know, fully pass. You know, we'll have to take a look at these rules in any event to figure out our process.
Isn't it also possible that the bill could pass, but they could say that it doesn't take effect until next year?
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, so.
You know, right now it's 2050, which we know is just for conversation's sake, but they may say, you know, it's too close to the end of the year and who knows?
That's a good point, Robin. Thank you. And I think that, yeah, for us, for the rules committee, it's like, okay, we already started this process. It's fresh in our mind what we need to do. So let's go ahead and update it. And well, I can't recall if you said this, Mahina, but you know, we're not just looking at the appeals provision. We're going to look through it, see if anything else needs changes, including allowing for electronic filings in our procedural rules. So that type of thing. So rules committee will work on that. If in the meantime, anybody else in the council, you know, just for fun wants to go ahead and look at the rules. And if there's anything in particular that you think we need to pay attention to, you know, please, you know, send that to Mahina and we'll consider it in rules committee. All right. Any other questions? All right. Thanks, Mahina. Okay, Mary Ayano. You're on mute, Mary.
Sorry, thank you. I'm glad you didn't hear me talking to myself. Our meeting was a working meeting to get in preparation for our first two forums we're going to have. We are confirmed with our speakers on June 16th for the sea level rise climate change. And so we started working backwards on logistics for that. We were in our talking about promotions and things like that. We don't have the advantage that we had with our in-person forums where the law school helped us with their interns. So this is on us. We decided just to lighten the load. We divided up the first two. Dawn and I are going to kind of be the leads on the first one. Roy is going to be the lead on the second one, and I'll help him with it. And then we'll, as we move down the road, we'll name whoever else is going to help depending on the subject matter as we go. But the important information for you all right now is that one of the places we want to publicize this event is with the environmental report. So Dawn and I will work on a flyer that we'll use to go out to everybody and their mother's brother, and including putting it in the environmental report. So working backwards from the calendar, we're looking at the June 16th date, the most recent, or the environmental report that'll be the closest will be the June 8th, which has a May 26th deadline, the May 23rd, which has a May 12th deadline, the May 8th, which has an April 28th deadline. So what we're looking for is we'll be putting that flyer together and we'll run it by chair so she knows what we're up to, but we're not looking for full board approval on that. And we just want you all to know that that's how that's going to roll. The flyers will be simple. They're going to have a format of, we're doing this because of the annual report. So we'll include a link to the annual report. We'll have links to the bios of the speakers, and there'll be links that the bio people, that the speakers provide to us. We're not going to go find them. They'll be there Kuleana. And that's really the nuts and bolts of everything we accomplished today. We're going to, we remember that Maka'ala and Roy were given the ability to meet the two of them to coordinate things with DLNR, et cetera. And so we just want to confirm that that same that same policy applies, that if only two of us are communicating, we're not violating sunshine law because we're not making a decision for the environmental council. We're just producing a forum. And that's all we'll discuss in those conversations. And that
Okay.
concludes my report.
Thanks, Mary. So is this going to be, you said it's virtual, it's going to be on Zoom or?
Yes, it's going to be on Zoom. And Les has already given me the password to, we're going to use OEQC's account. And we talked about the logistics of getting it moved from the recording on Zoom to an MP4 account so that we can then post it on our website. So we can build that library we've been all talking about of various informational pieces.
Awesome.
Yeah, Mary, it's going to be posted onto our OEQC2 site, which basically you guys have access to, the public has access to. That's where we post our meeting agendas.
Tell me the name of that again, Les, please.
It's the OEQC2 site. It's the OEQC SharePoint, the SharePoint site.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
And,
right.
Yeah, the publication is called environmental notice, not environmental report. It's environmental notice.
Les, Mary, could you have Les send us all that schedule that you articulated before?
It's on our website.
Oh, okay.
It's the environmental notice calendar. It's the publication calendar of the Office of Environmental Quality Control periodic bulletin. And it has submittals and publication date, and it has other things that there's different other stuff that people need to know about that doesn't have anything to do with our forums. It's also in this calendar.
All right. Well, thank you folks for organizing that. That sounds like it'll be really interesting. Glad it's coming together and it's only April, so that's awesome. Go ahead, Roy.
Mary, are we gonna ask Maka about her
Not today.
opinions on the watershed?
No, that's in my notes. I'll take care of that offline.
Okay, that's offline. Okay,
Just like you take care of yours offline.
okay.
Yep. Thanks, Roy.
All right. Anybody have any questions for INO? All right. So our next meeting, thank you, Mary, for the update. Next meeting is Tuesday, May 4th. Ron, are you thinking that you're gonna need a full hour and a half for exemptions next month? Because I don't know if this, well, one, is this later time better for you folks, 1:30 to 3:30, or do we prefer the 1 to 3:30 that we typically did? We had moved it back a half hour because there are, certain exemptions meetings are really going long. We had a lot, and that's why we had moved the full council back to 1:30. But I was just thinking, like today we're butting up right against that 3:30 time. So if we do need more time, what I was going to propose is we go back to our normal meeting time of 1 p.m., but that depends on exemptions.
Yeah, I don't think we will.
Okay, thanks, Ron. Sorry, Robin, you had something to say?
Yeah, you jumped and skipped the pig report, and I need to ask the group a question for their input. So can we just have just a couple of minutes on that?
Yes. Sorry, I'm so sorry about that. I put a check mark in the wrong place. Thank you. On my agenda. Well, yeah, just back to this question. I mean, is everybody else preferring this 1:30 start time, or do we prefer the 1 o'clock start time? 1 o'clock. Okay, got one from Ron. And Robin, 1 o'clock.
I'll follow my leader since this meeting follows his meeting. So if he says 1 o'clock, whatever he says, I'm in it.
Yeah, it's nice to have a little bit of a lunch break, but I also know start earlier, potential to end early. Some people might like that more. Okay, so yeah, for the next meeting, what I'll do is I'll probably push us back to 1 o'clock unless Ron tells us that exemptions it's a hefty agenda and we need to adjust back to 1:30.
Yeah. Oh, no, I just want to say that I probably won't be around for the June meeting. So I'll be on the mainland and kind of inaccessible. And if we get 2 or 3 agencies that suddenly come in the next week, it's possible. It seems very unlikely, but I would want to put them on the agenda for May so we could get them done. Just a heads up.
Okay, so this might slide, but as of now, this is the plan to go back to full council at 1. Unless we get, a lot of people submitting stuff in the meantime. So.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Robin, I'll turn it back over to you for the pig update. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Very quickly. The survey is ready to go. We've limited it to a one question. We have the cover memo done. We've arranged to have a link go to to be included in the environmental notice, so we can reach a lot of people. To that point, everybody on the committee has given their lists to Les. We're giving Les some time to let us know when he's ready to send.
It's already done.
Okay, so we can send it out. Thank you, Les. Send it out at any time. The question I have for all of you, though, I don't know how you want to structure this brief discussion, but given 1318's moving and what it pretends, do we still want to have this question go out to everybody? And the question is, what role should the Environmental Council play in improving the protection and enhancement of Hawaii's environment? Do we still want to do that now?
I think we should, because then we come into our new quarters fully informed.
Okay, I'm seeing a lot of head shaking, yes. And I remember that we added a sentence in the cover memo that indicated the legislature was discussing our future. We didn't say what they had decided. So, okay, so can everybody just shake their heads if they think that's reasonable to, I see everybody's.
Yeah, I
Mahina?
think you folks already did all the groundwork. Might as well get it out before it gets put on the shelf and forgotten.
I just wanted your clearance on that. Okay, thank you. That's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you folks for your work on that. Okay, anything else from anybody? We're in the public forum stage. We didn't have any members of the public except for exemption committee. Anybody have any questions, concerns, any updates?
I have an update. I'll be gone. I'll be on the mainland from April 19th to May the 1st. So if you have anything that needs to be done, please just contact Jen. She'll be covering for me until I come back. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Les. Have a great trip.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. And then Ron said you're traveling in June, so we'll still see you.
Les, can I have a question? If I get you the material to send out, I'm taking a trip tomorrow, so I will be out of contact for 2 or 3 days. So if I was to send you the information to go out on the 12th, would that be okay?
On the 12th, yeah, sure. That'll be okay. I'll still be here. Yeah.
Okay, just double checking. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, thank you folks for handling that. Okay. Anybody else? Any questions, updates, announcements? Okay, thanks everybody for hanging in for this really long meeting. I'll see you folks on Tuesday, May 4th. Meeting's adjourned. It's 3:15 p.m. All right, take care, everyone.
Great job.
Thank you.
Tough one.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.